Hi guys, welcome back to the Mission Empowered podcast with me, your host Emily. Hope you're all having a gorgeous day so far. I really need to record that as like a intro so I don't have to say it every time because I would love to just play back the last 20 episodes. I guarantee I say that on every one. So maybe I'll try and spice it up for the next ones. I'll think of something like new jazzy intro to say. Anywho, welcome back. Hope you're all good. I don't know. There's like two sides of this coin. Are you feeling festive? Are you not feeling festive? I mean, I've seen on my Instagram people putting their Christmas trees up already. I'm not one of them, although I do love this time of year. Coming into what I call social season is literally one of like the favorite time of the year for me. Like I love summer as well, but this time it's cozy. I feel like everyone is in like a happier mood. There's loads of like little things on, like new things that we go and do, like craft fairs and Christmas markets, and it's all gorgeous. But it can be a bit of a stressy time of year for people as well. And if you're listening to this, it's because you want the knowledge bombs of how to sail through this time of year, enjoying it. You're obviously a social gal like I am, that's why you're listening, without going backwards. Because something that I use a lot of my clients is they always stress about this time of year, especially if they've worked with me for the majority of the year. They're like, shit, I'm really nervous about, coming into November, December. One of my clients messaged me yesterday saying, I've got something on every weekend up until the run of December. I'm like, chill. It's fine. You've never worked with me. You've never had my advice over this time of year. And listen, it can be done. Okay. So, what we're going to go through today is getting you through social season. Okay. So, if you want to carry on moving forward to making progress, great. But also, it might be a time of year where you've worked really hard this year, you've got great results, and you just want to maintain them and you don't want to go backwards. Because I've seen people or spoken to people come January and they're like, had lost 2 stone through the months of November and December. I put a stone back on. That is honestly easily done. If you are not informed of what we're going to go through today and you are not prepared, like ramping up your social occasions, and we all know when the celebrations boxes come out at Christmas, or not even Christmas, the 1st of December, it's fucking game over. Like this is something I've lived and breathed for years. Is that when I used to live at my mum's, and I'm not even joking, we probably got through about 4 celebration boxes before Christmas Day was even done, because they are so easy when they are just out in your eye line. I'll just have one. So for me now, I have to put a limit on it as much as I want to. Even shop on Sunday, I went past them with Ollie and I was like, oh, it's Christmas. He was like, no. And I was like, no, you're right. Yeah, because they'll be gone by Sunday. So I have to put a cap on myself. So girls, listen, I know it can be stressful, but let's go through today. We've got 3 things we're going to talk about first, and then we're going to literally dive into when you have got social occasions, what you need to do before them, after them, to get through them, and to literally keep the results you've worked so hard for, or also just not to be an extra stone heavier come January. So let's go. Okay, so biggest thing from now up until New Year's Eve, New Year's Day, whatever, okay, is being planned and being organised. Shock horror, because you've heard me say that before, but being planned and being organised is key to then planning ahead, to reverse engineering. Okay, I've got that in 2 weeks. Like I can keep going on my habits and stuff like that, or I can say no to one social occasion. I've got a really good one in 2 weeks. So my advice is get a pen and paper or notes in your phone. And again, this is something I've done with all of my clients, myself included, with my coach. I have sent him over, listen, these are my weekends in the run up to Christmas. Luckily for me this year, I think it's the least social I've been, but that's only because I feel like I'm turning into a little bit of a, not a hobbit, turning into a bit of a hermit of like, I just want to stay and watch Christmas films. So I've kept some weekends free, but they're still pretty busy. Every other weekend in the run up for me. So write out your social occasions. Now, once you've written out your social occasions, and again, in the weekdays and over weekends, there's one thing that we can do here where we look at what we call like our priorities and then our compromise social occasions, okay? Because the bottom line is, in case you were thinking this episode was me telling you how to eat out and get pissed 3 times so you can still get results, it's not. And I'm sure you weren't expecting that. But the bottom line is, we cannot, in the run up to Christmas, eat and drink out 2-3 times a week, not giving a shit about calories, not doing our steps, not doing all the stuff, and expect to make progress, or even expect to not see, our physique change slightly. Like, if we go all in and press that fucking button on every social occasions, you're not sick. You know what's going to happen. We are going to go backwards, okay? But when we go back to that point that I just said of looking at our social occasions, we've got them in a list and we go, right, priority, I can compromise on them, okay? So that means when you look at your priorities, okay, do you know what? I'm just going to use me for an example, okay? I've got things in the diary that are more like, they're not big things, they're more catch-ups. So I'm like, right, I'm going to compromise on them. And I know I can be goal-driven at them, but my priorities are the ones where I am like, booking my hair, booking my makeup, got a gorgeous outfit to wear, the ones I'm really excited about, they're my priorities. And you know what? When you look at the list of things, I bet there is only about 2 or 3 of them in the next, like 8 weeks till Christmas. And there's probably, a handful that you can go, right, they're the ones I'm going to go full pelt on. Okay. By doing that and then looking at the other ones, such as your work Christmas lunches, or meeting up with school friends or friends that you just meet up with every Christmas and you're not really that bothered by, but you have to go because it's like tradition. They're the ones that you can compromise on versus what you've probably done every other year. It's gone, oh, I'm seeing, and say school friends because that's normally what it is. I'm seeing my school friends, so that'll just be another, I'll just have a bottle of wine, we're going for a curry or whatever. Like, you're not really that bothered, but you'll just succumb to it anyway. Or your work's Christmas lunch. We all know they're normally a little bit shit. 3 courses. It's like pate, a roast in, and a Christmas pudding. You just eat it all anyway and you're there, and then you feel even more deflated because people you work with annoy you and you didn't even like the food, but you ate it anyway. Whereas that's what you've always done. And actually, when we have the priorities that we go big on, the priority events, then we have the compromise events, but also we go big on them as well. That's the problem. That's what we've done in the past. That's the problem. Where if you can go, right, I've got these handful of priority events, which I am going to go big on, but the smaller events that I know if I thought about it, I could be accountable, I could handle, they're going to be goal driven. Trust me, you're going to be fine. So, like I said, planning ahead. You put your big rocks in. With your priority events, and then you've got your compromising events. Okay, we're going to come back to how to handle each of them separately in a second. But now we're going to move on to the first thing we're going to do is plan ahead and get our social occasions written down in our diary. And also, if you haven't listened to last week's episode about setting boundaries, go listen to that. Because when I just said I'm like the most social person ever around Christmas, but this year I'm not. I've really set my boundaries. And people have said, when are you free? I'm like, January. When are you free? And don't be afraid to do that. That's a whole other episode. Go listen to that one from last week. The next point that we're going to focus on is mindset around these social occasions. This is a really, really big one because, again, being social, I think a lot of people connect that to food and drink, alcohol, eating out, bougie, yeah, loads of drinking, prosecco, shots. That's being social. It's not. And the number one advice when it comes to mindset and socializing, not even just around Christmas, is disconnecting that marriage of socializing equals alcohol, food, and drink. Okay, we need to break them. They're getting a divorce. Okay, it's cute. They're getting a divorce. Okay, socializing is about being with friends, with family, making memories, having fun, new experiences. It is not just about food and drink. Now, I'm not saying there isn't a little compartment in our socializing drawer that is have nice food, have nice drink. But the problem we have as a society is that it's not a compartment, it's the whole fucking shebang. Is that socializing equals getting pissed, eating out. Okay? So we need to break that barrier. And when you think about social occasions coming into the festive season, it's actually knowing that you have the power to go. I can go to that social occasion and have a nice time. And it doesn't have to be about the drink and it isn't about the food. I can literally just rock up. I can drive and I can be like, okay, yeah, cool. Like, I can have a nice time and then come home and actually, oh my God, I haven't blundered my diet. I haven't eaten 20,000 calories. Like, I just went, had a nice time, and I'm fine. That might, for some of us, that might be like, yeah, well, dear. I reckon for 80% of us listening to this, people are like, shit, I definitely marry social and eating out and drinking together, and I've never even thought of it like that. Do you know why I know that? Because guess who used to be like that? Me. I used to be that person that socialising meant drinking or food, or, both. Okay. And it would never occur to me to just drive or go and have a nice time. Over the past few years, I've definitely built up that autonomy to be able to go to occasions, have a boss time, come home and not be fazed by it. And that's also like the power that I try and give my clients now, and you guys as well, is that breaking that barrier is definitely a really powerful thing, a powerful skill that we can work on. And guess what? If you tell yourself, let's just do a side note of reality here. You've got a social occasion. Let's say it's a work night out, okay? You're not that bothered because they're not like friends, they're work friends, okay? Or it's a business event or something. And they're putting on free booze and free food, okay? You're not really that bothered about going, but you're going to go because you got to save face, you got to do it for work. You going to that and having free food and free booze is not doing anything for you. Like, from one point of view, it's not doing anything from your goals. And from the other point of view, it's not going to make you feel better afterwards, okay? But what you have to do in that situation is you have to give yourself a moment of pause and a moment of power, because you have to say to yourself, okay, I know that I've got this instant gratification. This instant gratification is free food and booze, woohoo! Versus the long-term gratification, and this is where the pause and the power comes in. Long-term gratification is pausing and going, right, okay, I know I've got free food and free booze, but actually, am I going to wake up tomorrow and go, oh my God, I'm so glad I went in all on the free Prosecco that was, actually Lamborghini, and went in on all the food that actually was Iceland frozen? Probably not. And am I going to feel better next week at my priority social occasion because I said no to this to this free food and free booze at this work one I wasn't really bothered about? Okay, which decision is going to make me feel better? Is it the instant gratification of free food, free booze, or is it the long-term gratification of actually saying, no, I'm going to stick to my boundaries and I'm all good? We know it's the long-term gratification. And the mindset of, like I just said, about pause and power. Sorry, lost my train of thought then. The long-term gratification of pause and power is the pause of giving yourself that 1 minute to just think, what do I want to do here? And the power is reminding you that you have the power to make that decision, whichever one it is. Okay, so on the mindset side of things then, the biggest thing is disconnecting from socializing equals food and drink. It absolutely does not. And you know what? It only takes one time. Genuinely, girls, it takes one time to prove this. It takes one event for you to show up, be sober, or, not go ham on the buffet. And you come away and go, God, I kept some real willpower then, some real discipline, and I'm really proud of myself. And I still had a nice time. It takes one time for that to sink in that you can do it. And I'm really hot on that because like I said before, I was that person that wouldn't even cross my mind. I would be the person be like, this will be shit if I can't drink. This will be, crap if I can't eat the 3 courses and I have to have one. I used to be that person, and trust me when I say it's not. It is way more rewarding having the power to be in line with your goals and your decisions and say no and still go and have a great time. Because trust me, you will. If you don't go and have a great time and you're stressed about alcohol, I think we've got like a different problem on our hands. But go prove to yourself that you can do it, and I promise you, the payoff is definitely worth it. And then the last bit, like I said, on the mindset, is that instant gratification versus long-term gratification. And this is probably going to be the hardest point that you're going to come up against, is that when we're in the moment, again, another episode I'm going to get you to go listen to is the self-sabotage voice episode. It's quite a short one really, but I talk in there about instant gratification and long-term gratification more in more detail. you're going to be put in situations where people are literally fucking waving mince pies in your face or giving you, you know, like I said, free drinks is a really common one. And in that moment, you are going to have that power to say, right, like, you know, and feel it. You can feel like instantly, yes, I want to have that bottle of Prosecco, but know that long term, the pause and the power is going to be, tomorrow I want to wake up and wish I'd not done that. Next week, when I've got my big social occasion, I've got that really special dress that's a little bit tight. I want to put that on knowing I'm so glad I said no last weekend. That long-term gratification is going to carry you through. And as I always like to do on these, I'm going to tie that into point one of having your priorities and then having the ones that you compromise on. We're not taking them off the table. We're getting you to make your choices that are going to drive you forward. So we're getting you to be like saying no to one thing because you're saying yes to something else. Okay. All right. So next one on our list then, about hacking social occasions. So we've covered planning ahead. We've covered the mindset around it. We now are covering prioritizing the basics. I went to show boring then. It's not boring, but I do sound like a broken record, okay? There is nothing ever fucking fancy about like fat loss, maintaining results, managing social occasions. You know, a lot of it just ties in. God, I've not really sold this episode very well, have I? But you're here, you're listening to me. Prioritize the basics, okay? Because something that normally goes out the window over social season is that all year you've been getting up, doing your steps, drinking your water, focusing on whole foods, getting your workouts in. For some fucking reason, 8 weeks before Christmas, people are cancelling gym memberships. They're replacing water with wine. They're not bothered about getting the steps in. I'm like, hello? Like, if you are thinking about this logically, right? All of that stuff. So water, steps, protein, workouts, okay? It's all really good for our health, okay? The things that aren't so good for our health are drinking alcohol, really rich food, not moving as much, being really busy with social occasions, stressing things out. Why are we replacing healthy habits with unhealthy habits? It does not make sense, okay? But it's super common. So honestly, even if you are going to ignore everything I've just said about like the social occasions, the mindset, please don't ignore this. If you are going to go ham all on your social occasions, if you have got social occasions up to your eyeballs and you just want to go all in, that's your prerogative. But do me a favor, please still stick to the healthy habits and add that on top, because again, at least you're doing yourself a favor. This is why so many people run into January. Well, that was funny because they definitely don't run into January, but people wobble into January feeling so much worse than they did before Christmas. And it's not just because the pants have got a bit tighter. It's because they've dropped out the healthy habits. They've dropped the walking, they've dropped the water, they've skipped the gym. Like, there's a saying that I said to my clients, and I've got it written down here. Dropping the basics over social season is more detrimental to your health and to your goals than the actual social occasions. Like, genuinely. And like I've just said, but for some reason, this is what I've seen years and years and years, or years on years, is that when we get to this time of year, people in the most basic way fuck it off. And I'm like, why? Like, really? Why? Okay, so let's get into what basics we should be focusing on. So number one, the easiest one, chin honey, is 3 to 4 litres of water a day. Now, normally you might hear me say, guys, aim for 2 to 3 litres of water. It's a really good basic habit. But what we have to take into account now is that over social season, what ramps up alcohol intake, or even sometimes not alcohol intake, but, you know, just what's a party drink? You know, like fizzy pop. I don't fucking know. Normally alcohol, isn't it? That to be real. Like, normally alcohol intake or you know, increases. Rich food increases, okay? And what do we need to do to help our body rid of like rich foods and alcohol? We need to hydrate. So we want to be hydrating that little bit more than we were before to help counteract that. Okay, so number one, do not give up on your water. If there's anything that you carry through social season, please make sure it's your water. We all know the benefits of hydration on our health, on our mental health, on our physical health, on our sleep, on our digestion. Okay, I haven't even talked about fat loss and muscle growth there, but hydration, don't drop it out, keep it in. The next one is your steps, okay? And I know what people are going to say, it's cold, it's raining. Yeah, well, you have probably lived in England longer than a year. You probably do know that. Go and invest in a coat. Go and invest in some waterproof shoes. Like, dropping our steps again. Let's look at this from a maintaining results point of view over the Christmas period and not banging on a stone before January. If our calorie intake goes up slightly, okay, so we've got our baseline. If our calorie intake goes up slightly and our calorie expenditure, aka our steps, drop down slightly, what does that put us in? Well, that puts us in more of a calorie surplus than we were before. So even if you keep your steps up nice and high, but your calorie intake goes up a little bit, you're still going to be better off than calorie intake going up and steps going down, because you're creating a bigger gap between your calories in versus calories out, which is going to equate to weight gain. So again, it makes no sense to me when people say, I'll track my steps in January. You're already doing it. Keep doing it. Add your little chocolates on, add your little mince pies on, but don't drop your steps as well. Don't put yourself up. Oh, I went to say two little things to say up there, double-edged sword and up shit creek. Anyway, you know what I'm saying. Don't put yourself in a worse off position from a habit that you're already doing. It makes no sense. So water, steps, protein. So I really want you to keep your protein in as much as possible. Okay. And again, being surrounded at Christmas time, what are we surrounded by? Well, nice food, rich food, pâtés, crisps, chocolate. I love all of that as well. But also I know how easy that is to consume. Okay. It's fast carbs. It's tantalizing on our taste buds. And if we don't hit our protein, girls, we're just going to end up massively overeating on that. So here's what I want you to do. Still hit your protein. Okay. Still hit your protein and just have them little bits on, on top of it. Here's a little side note that actually I didn't mention at the very beginning of this episode that I definitely should have. Love a side note. Love a halfway interjection. I always do this. Coming into social season, this should have been the opener, really. It's probably not going to be about fat loss. Maybe now, for the next few weeks, it can still be. But coming to mid-December, for them last 2-3 weeks of December, if you are super social, please do not set your expectations on fat loss. Set yourself the expectation of not doing what you've done every single year before, which is put half a stone on. Okay. Set your expectation as, do you know what? I'm going to coast. I want to get through the next 3 weeks at maintenance. Then I'll smash it in January. That's a win. Okay. Don't set your expectation as, I want to lose weight up until Christmas Day, because you're probably not going to, because you listen to this, it means you're social. Okay. If you've got no plans and you're not that arsed, go for it. But this is for my social girls who are in my boat and, we want to maintain where we're at and not go backwards. That's what I want to say. So, side note, I wish I could edit these. I put that at the beginning, but I can't. So, basics then, protein, as I said, keeping your protein up, girls, and being mindful around it, okay? If you've been doing this again all year, there'll be days where you're probably not going to track, but you're not soft. You know what protein is in. It's in your lean meats, your yogurts. If you've got a buffet in lunch at work, make sure you have a high protein breakfast. Maybe have a quick protein shake before the buffet. It's going to stop you overeating on them fatty, sugary junk foods, which are going to have you craving for more, therefore eating more. Okay, having your protein is going to help stabilize and stop you overeating. So don't drop your protein. Protein also helps with when we're drinking alcohol. Stops us getting us pissed, which is always a good one, especially if you're lightweight like me. Stops us getting that pissed. Helps with our hangover. Helps with the munchies, because alcohol drops our blood sugar levels. Protein helps stabilize them, so it's going to help you there. Okay, and your workouts, again, this sort of goes without saying with the steps as well. It's really easy to sacrifice workout for social occasions. And so I think I'm going to give you a bit of real advice rather than sort of generic advice. Like, the top tier advice would be keep them in, girls. Prioritize them, purely for the fact that if you give up on workouts, again, we're creating that bigger calorie gap. So we're putting ourselves in a position where we are going to, be in a bigger surplus, and if we were still working out, therefore leading to fat gain, which is what we don't want. Okay. The second thing is giving up on your workouts now is only going to make you feel shit come January. You're going to feel it in your fitness. You're going to feel it in your body. You're going to feel sluggish. You're going to feel like you've got a huge step to climb come January. So let's say you're doing 5 workouts a week now. Set yourself a non-negotiable of the actually, if my social occasions ramp up, I'm going to give myself a non-negotiable of 3 workouts a week. Okay. That would be my absolute limit of not working out. Like, again, for me, I won't be dropping my workouts, because if I'm going to eat a little bit more, them calories I'm sending straight to my ass. I am going in that gym and I am pushing on my weights and being like, let's get strong, let's put them to use. And that is like my top tier advice is, don't drop your sessions out, because remember, we don't train for fat loss, we train for shape change, for muscle change, for strength, for confidence. Eating more is only going to make you feel way better, trust me, on your workouts. Okay, so don't drop your workouts out. If there are some point in the next few weeks where you've, due to childcare or work or whatever, that you've got to drop a session out, try your best to move it. Or if not, say, right, well, this week I'm going to be okay with doing 3 sessions, but I'm going to make sure them 3 sessions I'm giving 110% in. I think that's probably the most realistic, rather than saying like try and do 5 sessions every single week and you're like, oh my God, I've got social occasions coming out my ears. Like, again, it's coasting season. Well, not season, I don't really like saying that, but not now anyway. A few weeks time, December, can have December to coast, but right now we should still be cracking on as normal as possible. Okay, and like I said before, just want to end the prioritizing the basics on this. Like, dropping the basics is going to be way more detrimental to your health, your mental health, but most importantly, like your results, more than the social occasion itself. That is the problem that people do. And I'm going to take this away from social season and put it into a regular weekend. When you go out on a Saturday night and you have drinks and you have a meal out, that's not really the issue. The issue is on the Saturday day, you don't do anything in the morning, no movement, you don't really eat breakfast, and then you overeat when you go out, then you get pissed on the Sunday, you don't do any steps, you eat chippies, you eat mackies, you eat shit, you eat crisps. That is the fucking problem. Okay? So if that's one weekend, don't let that turn into 6 weeks in social season. Do not drop the basics. Keep the basics in, add the other stuff on. Now, that being said, we're going to break down how to hack our social occasions. Quite a long one this episode today. Where are we at? 27. Okay. I'll try and keep it snappy. So, remember, guys, at the beginning of this episode, I explained about having your big rocks, which are your priority social occasions, and your small stones, which are your compromisable. Not a word. Compromisable. Compromising. We've got the small stones, which are our compromising events. Fucking hate it when I can't think of a word. Okay, so when we are coming to the big social occasions, you see me checking my notes here, anyone watching on video, everyone else just thought I was taking a big deep breath. When we are talking about our big social occasions, okay, the first thing that I always recommend to do the morning of is get up and get as many as your steps in as you possibly can. So for me, if I've got a night out, I always do like 50% of my steps, so, well, a bit more normally. I normally try and do between 6,000 and 8,000 steps first thing in the morning. Anyone who follows me on Instagram or you listen to this on the reg will already know I do like 3,000 or 4,000 steps every morning. Anyway, when I've got a bigger social occasion and know I'm going to be a bit busy in the day, I always make sure I get my steps in. Number one, it's getting you moving, it's doing your movement for the day, and number two, it's like a motivational tick in the box. It's so easy to do that by the time that you've done that, you come back and you feel motivated to do the next thing. Okay, if you're in fat loss or you're trying to maintain fat loss or trying to get a bit of fat loss, again, doing 8k steps or 6 to 8k steps in the morning, okay, it might be over an hour walk, get over it, get up early, you're going on a night out, be excited. But when you get up and do that, you are also creating a bigger calorie expenditure for the rest of the day as well. So it's getting a tick in loads of boxes: movement, a bigger calorie gap for calorie expenditure, and also it's nice and motivating to know that by 9 o'clock in the morning, you could have done like 8K steps. Okay. So that's the first one, is get your steps in. And or if you've got a workout due that day, make sure you get that done. I do always say though, if you've got a busy social weekend, try and front load your workouts. So on that day, you're not stressed about doing it. The next thing is hitting your protein. Hit your protein the day that you are going out, especially if you're just going out drinking. As I said before, alcohol is like pure negative vibes when it comes to like muscle building and fat loss. Okay, so when we talk about protein and hitting our protein and how we should hit our protein in 30 grams at a time, this is to stimulate something called protein synthesis, which is the body's way of turning over lean muscle tissue to build it. Alcohol is better at breaking muscle tissue down than we are at building it up. Annoying. So the worst thing that we want to do is not hit our protein and then go and get bevies. Okay. Also, not to mention alcohol affecting our sleep, which then affects our hunger hormones, which then makes us eat more, makes us feel tired, demotivates us. I am not against alcohol, obviously, but this is why I'm saying about be selective with it. Okay, being selective with these big events and then the smaller ones, and don't just go all in getting pissed out of all of them, because trust me, yes, by January you'll feel fucking terrible. So hitting your protein on the day of. If you are going out going out for dinner and you're like, how should I hack this? Don't do what I used to do, which is try and do nil by mouth all day. When I say used to, I'm not talking about like the last month, I mean like years ago. I used to be like, well, I'll just eat as little as possible. Surely that's the best thing. It's the fucking worst thing you can do, because you go to the restaurant, you eat all the bread basket that's meant to be for 6 people, and you eat it to yourself. And then you're just overeating on ordering, and then you're also drinking. And then by the end the meal comes, you're like, oh my God, I feel awful, feel terrible. Yeah, it's just not good. So the day that you're going out, if you're going out for a meal, go for high protein but lower calorie. For example, fruit and yogurt for breakfast. And then for your lunch, it might be like an omelette or a chicken salad, something like that. So you're keeping that volume there, you're keeping that protein there, but also you're keeping calories back for that meal out as well. Okay, so steps, workouts, hit your protein. The next one is planning your next day. Oh my gosh. So the day before you go on this social occasion, or even the morning of the social occasion, plan out what you're going to eat the following day. When you are feeling a little bit hungover, when you're feeling a little bit tender, when you're, feeling a bit emotional, sometimes people do, don't they? And you need that bit of comfort food. If you plan out the next day with your food, with your movement, with getting up, getting a shower, put something in the diary that's going to make you get up. Trust me, this is probably the biggest thing when it comes to drinking alcohol. Not necessarily meals out, because we normally be okay, but especially if we're drinking alcohol, planning out our next day is the biggest game changer. Because if we don't plan out the next day, remember what I just said about the effect of alcohol, demotivates us, okay? It makes us poor at making decisions, because we're just like, oh, I'm hungry, I'm tired, we make worse choices than if we weren't. But if we have planned out our day for the next day, including getting up, going for a shower, going for a walk, planning our food, when you're tired and demotivated, past you's already done it for you. So you don't have to worry about making them decisions. They're already there, they're already done. And again, like I said before, the social occasion isn't normally what impacts us. It's normally the actions that we do around it or following it. So for example, let's say you did go out with the girls on the Saturday night and you drank Prosecco and you had 3 shots of tequila rose. Not me. But let's say you did that and you felt a bit tense the day after. Okay. I've forgotten where I was going with that. I got so into my Prosecco and tequila rose, I then just lost train of thought. Okay, so let's say you did do that. No, guys, honestly, I cannot believe that. What a shocker. I need to pause and rewind, because I've got no idea where that was going. Right, now it's come back to me. Are we all still with me? I'm sorry. I feel like I've gone all flushed as well. So I was saying, it's not the social occasion. Fucking hell. It's not the social occasion itself, it's the after. We're in the room. You've had Prosecco, you've had tequila rosé. I think I need Prosecco now. You've had Prosecco, you've had tequila rosé. The next day you wake up, you're feeling a bit rough. You've not planned anything. You just, intuitively eating, shall we say. So you get up and you have some toast and butter for your breakfast with a bit of jam on because you're like, oh, I need something. I feel like I'm going to be sick, we've all been there. That doesn't really hit the spot. So you're like, right, okay, there's nothing in the house. Shit, I'm just going to nip the co-op. So you go to the co-op. You're not picking up a fruit salad or, a tin of tuna to make a tuna salad. You're going in on the crisps because all you're thinking is, oh, I'm hungover, I need this food, like I want comfort food. So you pick up the crisps, you walk past Sayers or whatever it's called, you get yourself a pasty or a sandwich or something, okay? You go home, you eat it, guess what? You still feel like shit because you've not only racked up a load of junk calories, you are feeling a bit hungover, you sleep deprived, but now you've put a lot of stodge in your system that's not making you feel better anyway, okay? You then sit on the couch for the rest of the afternoon. You didn't even bother putting your step count on because you've only done 800 steps to the shop and back. And now, you did also pick up like a 2-litre bottle of Fanta. So you just chin that. So let's look at the night before. The night before, you had your Prosecco, 600 calories a bottle, go girl. I've got no idea how many are in tequila rosé, but let's say there's like 150 calories in a shot. That's 300. That's 900 calories you racked up. But you were on the dance floor all night. So you burnt off like, I don't know, 1,000 calories doing that. So actually, that wasn't that bad. The day after, you didn't move. You've had your toast and your butter, I don't know, 500 calories. Then you've had your Sayers, 500 calories. Then you had your multi-share bag of crisps, another 500. Like, the list goes on, and you've not moved. And you've not drank water. Which situation is more detrimental? It's the day after. I felt like I went around the house on that, but I hope you enjoyed that story. This is my point, okay? Don't stress yourself out about the social occasion. Plan your day after to, what's the word? Like, balance it out. But not just to balance out from a calorie point of view, for balance out to make you feel better. You get up in the morning, you have a shower, you go out for fresh air, you've already planned your food, so you know that you're having that pizza because you planned it in, you made it work within your calories. You know that you're having a bacon and sausage sandwich that, okay, is like 500, 600 calories, but it's also 40 grams of protein. So by planning it out and helping yourself out, you can still work around what you want on a hangover, but you're also sticking to the plan. You haven't got to think about it. You haven't got to walk to shop because it's done. Okay, so plan your foods out. Get up, shower. Get up, get showered, go for a walk, like do all the stuff that's good for you, that's going to make you feel better, and then get an early night. Trust me, you will feel so much better on the Monday, because on that Monday, after having a big social occasion and eating shit on the Sunday, I don't know about you, but I've had a few of them in my time, and I get food hangover. I'm not even hungover. I'm hungover from the food that I've eaten. So that's why now, like, I don't eat chippies or anything like that on a hangover. Not because I'm like, angel, because it literally makes me feel like shit. So I'm always like, Ollie hates it, obviously. I'm like, right, we're gonna have this big chicken salad with tomato pasta, homemade tomato pasta, and he's like, oh, can we not just get a salt and pepper box? No. So that's the big social occasions. In short, let's just look at the compromising ones. God, I've rambled on for this episode. I hope you've enjoyed it. Maybe I should have done it in 2 parts. Okay, so last little bit then, girls. And we're going to take some of what we said. No, we're not. We're not going to take anything from what I've just said. This is totally different. We've done the big social occasions. We're now on to the compromised social occasions. So the compromised social occasions are the smaller ones, like I said, about people you're not that bothered about saying. That sounds harsh, but you know what I mean. The work events, the things that you can say no to, but in the past you've just gone all in on for the sake of it, because it's Christmas. So we're not going to do that. Okay? And as I said earlier on in the podcast, the little smaller ones that we can compromise on versus the big 3, 4 ones, it's them little smaller ones added together that will undo your progress. Now, even if that's all we changed this year, is that we compromise on these smaller goals, on these smaller events, it's going to make a difference. Okay, so 3 points I want to make on this. When you have picked your compromising event, you say, actually, I'm going to stay goal-driven, health-driven, how I want to feel. Once you've picked it, own that shit. Don't waver on it. Okay, so by that I mean, if you're choosing to go to an event and you're not drinking, drive. That's the easiest way to take out the temptation of drinking. But also, just own it. And if people say, "Are you drinking?" and just say no. Don't say, no, I really want to, but I'm not. Like, you don't. You want to on the instant gratification, but you've already thought about future you, and you want to say no. So just say no. I'm not drinking. Simple as that. If you're going out for a meal, but it's 3 courses and it's goal driven, pick ahead what you want off the menu. So it might be, rather than the pate that you normally love and get at every meal, you choose the soup. Normally you get the Christmas dinner, but actually they've got an option of like fish and potatoes, so you go for that instead. Okay, and actually you decide before you go, rather than having a cheese board off the dessert menu, I'm just gonna ask them for a coffee. Goal driven, own it. Okay, and once you make that decision, tell yourself over and over again before you go, I'm not drinking, I've picked what I'm having, I'm still gonna go and have a nice time. The only person that will absolutely sabotage this is gonna be you. If you believe in it and if you own it, trust me, you will go, you will have a nice time. And the best way to do this, guys, actually, is if you've got these little small compromising events, and then in a few weeks' time you've got that big priority event, just say to yourself, I'm saying no to this because I'm saying hell yes to my big event that I've got in 2 weeks. Okay, that's what I want you to think, that saying no to these smaller ones is saying yes to the bigger ones. People will try and sway you. Like I just said, come on, it's Christmas. Fucking boring. Okay, so people will try and say and say that to you, like, oh, come on, just have one. It's Christmas. You don't need to be on a diet Christmas. Do it in January. All of this stuff that sets us up to fail. But what you have to remember is that there's two reasons people say this. Okay, number one, people are going to say it because they're not you. They don't care about your goals in the nicest way possible. They don't. So of course they're going to say it because they're going to think they're making you feel better. But actually, all you need to say is, honestly, please don't ask me again. Like, I'm good. I know I could have a drink, but I'm fine. That's it. No is a full sentence. That's off last week's episode. Listen to the boundaries episode last week. That was a good one. But people will try and sway you, like I said, to remember to set your boundaries and they're your goals, and they don't understand that, and they don't have to understand that, so that's fine. The second reason, and this one's a bit more powerful, especially around Christmas, especially around people who've tried and failed to lose weight in the year, is that when people have tried and failed and they see Christmas and they see this opportunity that actually they don't need to be on a diet, thank God, because they've been terrible at it all year, and they can just go in on it, and it's like, you know, I say a relaxing time, but it's not. It's just like a band-aid over the real problems. They will get you to try and eat more, drink more, be involved, because you saying no and sticking to your guns and sticking to your goals, trust me, was going to be making them feel 10 times worse. And that is something you've got to think of. And again, whenever we're saying no or explaining to people that why we're doing what we're doing, not that we ever should have to, but we do, just remember that them 2 reasons. One, they'll just be trying to get you better. They don't understand your goals. But 2 is the crab effect. So the crab effect is literally what I've just covered. 2 crabs in a bowl. Is it the crab effect or the crab theory? Something. 2 crabs in a bowl. One of the crabs starts to get up to the side. The crab that sees the crab doing that goes up and pulls it back down. Crab theory, crab effect. Google it. But that's what people will do. People will crab affect you. They don't want you to see and do. They don't want you to see. They don't want to see you doing well because it's making them feel worse. And this Christmas time is a prime time for that. Okay, so remember that. But ultimately, remember your goals, your choice, your actions. Own it. And the last one then. So we've covered, like I said, the compromise ones are a bit easy. You don't need to necessarily plan the day after. You don't need to, smash it the day before, because you just go into this event being goal driven. Everything else stays the same. But the last one is this. I don't want anybody to succumb to the all or nothing mindset. So if you are going to a social occasion, keep this point in mind. The 2 drinks plus is where things start to affect us. Okay, it's where our sleep starts to get impaired. It's where our motivation starts to get impaired. Our hunger levels, it just tips us over the edge. So if you go to an occasion and you're like, I'm not drinking, but then you really want a glass of Prosecco. I always use Prosecco or half a lager, whatever your tipple is. You really want one, and you think, I know I could just have one. Then have one, but do not think after, oh, fucked it, I might as well have 7 more. No. Just remember the 2-drink rule. The 2 drinks, after that, things are going to start to be affected that you don't want to be affected because you made that choice that this was your compromise event. And that next week you've got your big event where you can have your 7 gins or how many you want. So don't get pulled into the all or nothing mindset. You go to an event and you weren't meant to have a dessert and you ate half one. It's not the fucking end of the world. Okay? But the biggest thing you can work on with these compromising events is time. Is, looking ahead at that list that we built at the beginning of this episode and going through a highlighter. This is a priority. This is a priority. This is a compromise. This is a compromise. And remember, the first compromise event that you go to, it might be a little bit tricky. It might be a little bit harder. The second one will be easier. Saying no gets easier. Setting your boundaries gets easier with time and with practice. And this year, this social season is going to be the year that you prove yourself that you can change, that you can do it. And everything you've worked hard for this year isn't going anywhere come January because you're going to implement this episode. Okay. I went to say in a nutshell, but it was a pretty hefty nutshell today. Guys, thank you so much for listening. I really hope this episode has been helpful. Share it to your friends. Obviously, come back to it if you need it. And if you did enjoy it, please give me a rating on Spotify. It does really, really mean the world to me. Or share it on your socials so I can see that you've enjoyed it. Any questions, drop me a message on Insta @_em.powered. And I went to say Merry Christmas. It's a bit too soon. I'll see you next time. Love you. Bye.